Good afternoon, everyone. So, when I was coming here, how I was introduced that one of the theme of this session is Sankalp se Siddhi. So I was just thinking, what would be the best way that we move from Sankalp to Siddhi? If we take Sankalp of growth, the Siddhi is we have a continuous life. So Sankalp se Siddhi to me is growth is life, and that is what Reliance Industries is all about. The second thing which I saw is what is something which is completely free. Generally we have seen that whatever is available free of cost, that we use a lot. The thing which is free in the world is clapping. And I see a huge scarcity of this particular resource here. So if we have to really move to cost optimization, first of all, we have to use the resources which is freely available. So 35 years from now, 35 years back, I was actually taking oral coaching classes on costing. So I was just thinking that what has typically changed in 35 years, because again after 35 years I've been called to take a session on costing. So what difference has happened? One of the major difference that has happened over the period is, those days, 35 years back, we used to talk about cost reduction. We have moved from cost reduction to cost optimization. Cost reduction to me is a very, very bad word, because whenever we think of cost reduction, that means somewhere we are suppressing the part growth, and growth has to continue at all times. So cost has to happen at all times. The only change that has had to happen is that the cost has to be optimized, and that is the theme of my session today. So virtually if you see, if we have to understand how this particular cost optimization imperative has to move on, the best way has to think in terms of how people in Gujarat thinks, how people probably, you know, the so-called Baniya thinks. हमें फ़ायदा होना चाहिए, काम कम करें, फ़ायदा ज़्यादा हो, तभी benefit है, तभी business है. So I thought of another way of looking at it. If you really see, if we really put our heart and soul on increasing our sales, we get certain benefit. We get in terms of increase in revenue. Now, what you do is, if you do think in terms of cost optimization, in terms of reducing your overall cost, and let's say your EBITDA is 25%, तो आपने जितनी मेहनत की 4 रुपए कमाने के लिए, उतनी मेहनत करिए आप 1 रुपया ऑप्टिमाइज करने के लिए. The result, I think, Gupta ji, is the same. So we should think cost optimization in that imperative, that when we optimize our cost based on our EBITDA level, we have a multiple level of growth in terms of our total profit. So therefore the effort on cost optimization has to be there. The second benefit that it gives you, it frees up your capital. I have seen that happening in Reliance, and as you know, I have been managing this humongous project of Jio for the last 1 decade, and this is where cost optimization has really done benefit to me. Whenever I have saved capex, it has freed capital to actually invest in some other resources, and therefore that's the second logic, that we should really invest on cost optimization imperative. Now, if you really move forward, this is how I actually define and spend some time on this particular slide. The first thing is, you have to work on efficient resource utilization. Now, how do we work on efficient resource utilization? If you really see the way, and I can give you one example of my first company, It was one of the Bharat Ratna, and I don't want to name it for the sake of it, but I'll tell you how the costs were worked out. And those days, that company was in a monopoly. You would obviously be able to guess it. Now, this monopoly company used to do costing in that manner, and I joined as a fresh executive trainee finance, and I saw when the cost is worked out for a project, and let's say the cost is 100, this file goes to the manager. Now, the manager may have time to study on that. Sometimes he may not have because he is getting so many files. So what he would do is, he would add 10% to that. Now, there was a concept of DGM also in public sector. When it goes to DGM, he adds another 10%. अब GM के पास गई, GM ने भी लोड कर दिया. ED के पास गई, उसने भी लोड कर दिया. That means what was the actual cost? If it was 100, it has actually turned out to be 135 rupees. Now, this company is a monopoly. So it gets tender, it wins tender, and it gets the project. Even with 20 to 25% of inefficiency, it is still able to earn profit and remain as the Ratna. But the shock came, as Professor was rightly saying, the shock came in terms of competition. They suddenly found, in the days of liberalization, they got competition from ABB and Siemens. And this opened their eyes, because they lost contract after contract. So much so that the company had to really think as to what do we do. And those two companies were ABB and Siemens. And then they thought something has to be done. And which particular principle was applied, you know? I am very proud to say this is the principle that they applied. They applied contribution analysis. They applied marginal costing. And because they applied marginal costing, such was the cost that ultimately they again won over tenders, and ABB and Siemens were out. BHEL is still in. That is my company. That is the beauty of cost optimization. So this is done through efficient resource utilization. The second is in terms of empowering innovation. You remember in good old days, and now also, the companies spend a lot on R&D. Many people, you know, would take R&D as a cost. I never take R&D as a cost. R&D always has to be taken as an investment. And that investment actually gives you multiple time returns. And that happens only through innovation. If you really see the budget that some of those countries like US is spending on R&D, India doesn't spend on R&D. And that is why we are never able to grow above a particular line. We all are worried about 2% growth, 3% growth, 6% growth. But if you really want to have an exponential growth, first of all, you have to spend on R&D, and then it will come through the innovation. And I actually focus a lot on empowering innovation. The third is spur global competitiveness. Now, what can be a better example of global competitiveness than Jio itself? When the prices were ruling at 9 rupees per call, 6 rupees per call, and all of that, then Dhirubhai came with a thought that the price of a call should be less than the cost of postcard. And all of us were supposed to work, because the cost of postcard in those days was 50 paise. That means it had to be less than 50 paise. So ultimately we came out with a costing of 40 paise, and that is what is the history of 40 paise call about. But how it happened? It typically happened through the concept of you have to spur kind of a global competitiveness. The same thing has been repeated in data. So today is not the session of digitization. I will actually not speak about it, but what you have seen in terms of data is a reality. 1,250 rupees per GB, 250 rupees per GB to just 5 or 6 rupees per GB is a phenomenal growth, and this is how the global competition is all down. If you think global, then only you'll be able to bring that concept. And by the way, even with 5 rupees or 6 rupees every quarter, I am declaring profit. So that means you can still be profitable if you are able to scale up in volumes and if you are able to actually manage your capex and opex in a better way. The fourth is, it also attracts investments, because let me tell you, no business can be done without cash. So idea is, if you do not attract investments, probably your whole concept of cost optimization will not work. So the fourth rationale is in terms of attract investments, ensure financial profitability, which is obviously there. It also mitigates many of the risk, as we know. It reduces impact on environment, a very, very big thing. You will hear more on this particular subject from me, so I'm not telling as of now. Provide competitive advantage is something which I've said. This is what is important. All these days we have been talking of capital, capital, capital. Arey bhai, capital ko chhod dete hain. Natural capital available hai. We have to move from capital to natural capital. And over the last decade, if you see, half of the Indian states have seen a decrease in their natural capital. This includes your stock of natural assets like air, water, soil, fossil, etc. Now, this is where your cost and resource optimization come. It is when done, then consciously, and it is done consciously, can help preserve and contribute to a nation's nature capital. To begin with, for corporate, this means doubling their initiative on ESG initiative. And again, Professor was talking on this particular initiative. The chairman of this committee was talking on this ESG initiative. This particular initiative is going to be the most important initiative, and I would request Dr. Basu, when he's writing his next book, I think the subject should be ESG again. Very, very important topic. And this is in terms of energy, initiative to conserve energy expense, and also in terms of conserving material. You see, there's a lot of wastage when we use any product. If you're able to conserve on that particular part, you may cost optimize, but to me, cost optimization in this case is only a byproduct. Ultimately, you are conserving natural resources, and that to me is more important. Very, very interesting case study, Professor. In my opinion, you can take this particular case study, and one of my favorite actually. If you see, in terms of contribution to GDP, how resource optimization can help to a nation's economy, India's arable land is almost equal to the US and China. Now, how much is India generating? India is generating $400 billion. With almost the same land, US is generating $1,000 billion, and China at 900. That means the land is same, but in terms of the revenue generation capacity, US is far ahead, China is not behind, but India is at 400. Don't you think India has a ready-made potential of 2.5 times to scale up to US? Now, if it scales up 2.5 times, now what happens? I'm saying not 2.5 times, even with 150% growth, this particular sector would be at least comparable with US and China. So there's an opportunity available with you to generate that much of resources. And how it will come? It will come only through optimization, how you can increase productivity. Aapke paas available hai, but most of time, just because we always thought it is available to us in plenty, we have got a bounty, we are not able to use it productively, and that is the reason we are not able to generate overall income. I particularly believe that this can be a major booster, and a lot of work is being done in terms of digitization in this area. And in fact, one of my favorite topic of digitization is how digitization is contributing to health, education, and agriculture. If we are able to really put the digitization in a sensible manner on agriculture, the country's economy can obviously take a bolster. Agricultural production, something written below, if you see tons per hectare, India is less than 3. Belgium is approximately 9, Netherlands is 8. मतलब आप 9 और 8 तक नहीं भी पहुंचो, even if you are able to double it to 6, you see where we will be growing up. How can we do that? Now just look at this slide carefully. Reduce is the first thing. Reuse is the second impetus. Recycle is the third one. आप इन तीनों elements को साथ में मिलाइए. Reduce, reuse, recycle, put them on rethink, put them on refuse, put them on repair, and brilliant thing can happen. Now, let's say if you have not understood this concept, keep this in mind. Reduce, reuse, recycle, combine them into rethink, refuse, and repair. And how this magic is happening, let's see through case studies. Again, I was tempted to put all the case studies on Jio, but then I thought that's not good. So let me have case studies from different areas. So the first one is from Walmart. Now, if you really see what is happening in Walmart is annual renewable energy projects. They have invested a lot in terms of RE, renewable energy, and the result has been a 2.2 billion kWh production. And as we all know, that when we invest on renewable energy projects, what is the gradient? What is the element that we use? We use solar energy, and solar energy के ऊपर अभी भी कोई tax नहीं लगा है. Like we have on spectrum. I don't know if it comes at a later stage, but as of now it is free of cost. उसको use करिए, and this is where you can actually save your overall cost. A simple thing like LED light. I mean, to me, this is the greatest of innovation. You change your lights from traditional lighting to LED, and look at the benefit that you get. If your organization is big, if your scale is big, then only one such initiative can generate $100 million of annual savings. And that is why am I putting this question again and again? It is because this cost optimization somewhere has to be created as a part of our habit. And I will show you how this particular habit can be inculcated. They spent on energy management system, which is EMS, and the benefit was they were able to actually reduce almost 1 billion kWh through 4,600 stores. And finally, in terms of building design and construction, if you just change the way the building engineering and construction can be done, there can be 20% reduction in energy usage. And again, Basudha is aware, when he was in Jio and Reliance, we actually have a system that you have a smart lighting system. That means when you enter the office, the light gets on automatically. That's a smart system. And if you're not using, or if you're stagnant, or people are not there, it automatically switches off. Now see this brilliant idea, one innovation, and just see the kind of cost optimization that it can bring to you. The next example after Walmart is Unilever, and they have a Unilever Sustainable Living Plan. And what typically they have done, they've done optimization in terms of packaging. So typically they have actually reduced the size of the wrapper that they use without actually impacting the quality part of that. They have made it lightweight. So that's what they have done. And they are also reducing packaging material, and they are improving packaging design slowly and slowly. That's the innovation they have done. Multiple millions of dollars of saving that has come. And again, it comes to recycling. Recycling is one idea which was never thought of in India, which is already there in some of the countries in Europe and America. We have thought it late, but if you are able to recycle that particular product, again use it as a raw material, a huge cost optimization can come, and that is what the Unilever study is all about. That was my concept of refuse that I said. The third is your repair part. Now, very, very interesting thing that Dell does. So, what Dell is doing, it collects old electronics from customers through their take-back programs. Recycling is done, and they have partnership with recycling organization, and processing is done to recover valuable material from the scrap. Now, generally, you must have seen, I think in my industry also it was done, when you throw things as scrap, it doesn't fetch as good value. I have been to the scrap trader, he actually takes out the component and then sells it at a higher cost. And I was amazed to find out that the scrap which I was selling at X rupees, he is able to generate by the concept of taking out the costly product, and he was able to earn almost 10 times of that. So if the industry take that as an initiative, just look at the way the revenue can grow through simple cost optimization. And obviously the material reuse, using recovered material to manufacture new Dell product, and closing the loop by reintroducing recycled material to the production cycle, and sustainable product design. I mean, just imagine the savings, 50,000 metric tons they were able to recover, and the saving was $18 million. I mean, this is where you see, if the scales are high, your small innovation, your small re-engineering can give multiple times the benefit for all of you. So typically, what should be the process-oriented approach for cost optimization? And this is simply through my experience. It is not validated, so pardon me for that, but this is something which I apply. The first thing is discover. And discover is typically how to establish the cost optimization program, what are the goals and scope of the program, and then the insight part. Insight is, what is the scale of optimization opportunities? If the opportunities are not large, am I really spending my time on a kind of initiative which is not going to give me much of benefit? So therefore, the third part is in terms of design, that what opportunities are available and which one should be developed, and then you implement that. Which opportunity should be implemented and in what order, because you may have hundreds of ideas. So how do we implement or how we sequence them? And then finally maintain and grow. What can be done better? So you continue to think what can be done better and how can the improvement be permanently embedded, so that it is not kind of a one-time initiative, it becomes a continuous initiative. And this brings to creating a sustainable cost optimization culture. And that culture would be through implementing robust financial validation system. I'll tell you, I mean, some areas where we undermine the role of a finance fraternity, finance has got access to all the data. But honestly speaking, we do not apply that particular data judiciously. We only are concerned about what requirement is given to us. So accounts payable person, he is only spending his entire time in passing bill. He doesn't look at what the invoice is all about. Is that a right bill, a wrong bill? He doesn't, because he has been given a target of maybe passing 1,000 bills in a day. He would pass 1,000 bills. This is same with all the other department. The consolidation team, they've got the entire trial balance, they've got entire expenses, they've got the entire cash flow, but they do not apply their mind as, can we do this? Can we use this particular data to the benefit of organization? If you think in those lines, if you think in terms of cost optimization, the data is available with the financial fraternity, they can actually make the best use of it. And let me tell you, the best of cost optimization ideas generally should come from finance. Today, they are not coming from finance. Actually, in my opinion, the best of cost optimization ideas should always come from finance. The moment we convert our thought process, we have to move from a typical bookkeeping attitude to a business attitude. The moment we are able to change from a bookkeeping attitude to business attitude, you will be able to see the savings very, very clearly. Maintaining tight control over cost. That doesn't mean, as I said, cost reduction is not the imperative. You have to optimize that cost. You have to see that whether this particular cost is being utilized to really increase my revenue. If that is happening, that cost is good, right? If that is not happening, the cost is not good. And again, I am very, very thankful to Mr. N.K. Prasad, who taught me the concept of zero-based budgeting. Let me tell you, I have been using the concept of ZBB for 37 years, successfully doing it for 37 years. That concept will not go, it will remain for 100 years. Zero-based budgeting is a need of the hour. Whenever anybody brings any file to me on cost, the first thing I ask is, keep it aside. If I don't do it, what will happen? And then I get the right answer. This is what we have to inculcate, and that is what I mean by maintaining tight control over cost. The next is driving initiative jointly with the different teams as a PMO. Again, हम ये सोचते हैं, most of the finance guys, they love to stay in a corner room, जहाँ पे कोई आ जा नहीं सके, और जहाँ आने में लोगों को लगे कि यार इसके पास जाएंगे ये क्या करेगा. No, no, no. You should not be. Your room should actually be the center, at the center, where you are completely accessible to all the functions. And you actually have to act as a PMO of all the function. If you act as a PMO of all the function, you are the best person who can drive cost optimization. I have done this in Jio. My colleagues have done it in Reliance. I'm sure my other colleagues would have done in other organizations. I believe that finance are best suited to drive the concept of cost optimization, provided they actually think as PMO and they do not do dadagiri. Most of the time, we try and do dadagiri. That is something which doesn't work. And then creating techno-commercial professional. I think my colleague in the earlier session was talking about factory engineering. I forgot who said. But again, let me tell you that one subject in costing has really helped me a lot. Industrial engineering, if I remember correctly. It's almost, 38 years now. It was industrial engineering, if I remember correctly. And my first company was BHEL. Let me tell you, two subjects which I applied a lot. One was industrial engineering, and the second was costing. Costing to so much that I became a professor on costing, and I was taking oral coaching classes. But industrial engineering, I was able to apply that because that actually gave me a techno-commercial concept. And that techno-commercial concept continues even till today. I would not have been able to do the network costing, which the format has been established now after I created almost 2.5 decades back. But the basic piece was I would actually go to the ground and see. So even today, if I have to really think of finding out a costing of a tower, I actually go on the ground with the engineering team and see how it is being computed. What is the bill of material that is used? How the engineering concept can change, how innovation can be brought about, how wastage can be curtailed. And then when I'm confident, I know whatever cost sheet that I've given, that would always sail. If you prepare your cost sheet sitting in an ivory tower, sitting in a corner room, I can tell you 100% that costing will be wrong. Whatsoever competency that you have in academics, if you really do not go on the ground, you will not have the sense of costing, and therefore you have to build yourself into a techno-commercial person. Believe me, fiber trenching job, and I have learned with my own hand how to do splicing. Only because I know how to do splicing as a finance guy, knowing how to do splicing actually told me that typically it should not be charged at X rate. All it requires is some machines and some technical skill, and you can actually reduce the price. I reduced the price, what was already prevailing, to only 25%. Had I not been on the field, I would never have been able to do that. Some of the things, I know the time is limited. So some of the things that have been done in Jio, again, agar aap dekhiye, you must be knowing that, tower is the baseline, and that is the main asset that we have in terms of telecom. और उस tower का सबसे बड़ा consumption जो होता है, that is in terms of energy. We also know that the cost differential between diesel and electricity is 4 times. Yani, if you have used 1 unit of diesel generator, you'd be spending almost 40 to 45 rupees. Electricity comes on an average at 10 rupees. That means you have used 4 times higher. So the simple method is reduce diesel consumption, reduce DG consumption. How do you do that? Typically, you bring the concept of batteries. One colleague during the earlier session was also talking about the batteries innovation that has happened that has really helped us. So today, at all the places, I've got almost 3 to 4 hours of battery backup. So once and batteries are charged on electricity, so typically if there is 4 hours or 5 hours of shutdown also, I'm able to do away without using diesel generator at all, and that is how you are able to bring down your cost to 25%. Electricity is at 10 rupees, diesel is at 40 rupees. If you use solar energy, it can be as cheap as 4 rupees 50 paise. The actual cost of production is just 3 rupees. So imagine the next moment if it happens from EB to renewable energy, you would have reduced the cost to that extent. Now, when you see anybody using diesel generator, you would understand as a cost accountant that they're doing crime. What can be done at 3 rupees? They are spending 40 rupees, and they're also adding emissions part. So it is also not happening on the ESG initiative point of view. And coming towards the end, I was talking to you as a habit. Now, we took one initiative on vehicle hiring. We saw there was a lot of misuse happening across the country on vehicle hiring. So I said again, asking a simple question, मैं आपको गाड़ी क्यों दूं? मैं आपको गाड़ी नहीं देता. What happens? Right? Asking that simple question of not giving you vehicle, can you imagine that we reduced number of vehicles in the country from almost 3,000 to now it has come to 1,000. And everything converted into money becomes a huge number. I mean, even the people down the line, the people who were actually following that initiative and helping me in that initiative, they found out that we have saved 180 crores per annum. Imagine a simple initiative like working on vehicle hiring can save 180 crores of rupees in a large organization. But for me, the money was not important. What was important is I wanted to change the habit of people. So if you think of companies' money as your own money, that concept would automatically bring cost optimization. And to me, that is the seed, that is the root. Every professional across here, if he's able to create that particular seed in the organization, that you have to think of companies' money as your own money, in my opinion, cost optimization would automatically happen. And then that brings me to the end of this presentation. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.